Gentlemen, my name is Sam Shihab, and with me,
I'm Brian Burke.
and we are from the law firm Sam Shihab and Associates. And it's Monday, it's 6 o'clock, which means we're going to spend 1 hour to talk about an important topic in employment immigration law. And last week we talked about the visa bulletin, October visa bulletin, and we've had an overwhelming input from everybody about corrections, suggestions, additional information, insightful analysis. And so we decided to create your projection for the October visa bulletin based on the information you provided when we come back. And I forgot to mention, we will be answering everybody's question, as much of it as we can. And we have printed out here the pre-streaming questions because they do not appear in our overlay. So we're going to address those as well and take care of everybody. But back to the topic, we could not disconnect mentally from the topic.
So Sam and I spent all last week reading everybody's YouTube comments, and we're like, with reactions from nah to it's a really good comment.
Yes, and we've had personal emails. We've talked. People called us. We've talked on the phone with some people that had excellent ideas. Some of them gave us information that's not available in the public. It's not public information, but it's available to them, that they've shared with us, and we've looked at it as well. And we're here to kind of bring it all in and come out with maybe a second look. But here's what I honestly think the conclusion I've reached, and maybe you've reached a different conclusion. The conclusion I've reached is that our prediction here and your prediction that we will have today may be 100% accurate, but it may not be.
I'm certain that my predictions will be 100% accurate, Sam.
May not be the October visa bulletin prediction because the government doesn't know. I mean, I'm not being critical of the government, but the government, based on information we received, don't make decisions until the last minute, and a lot of time, history have proven that they were wrong.
Yeah, well, that's what retrogression is, right?
Yeah.
Every time the visa bulletin retrogresses, it says, we moved that too far, we moved the dates too far.
Yes.
And we haven't seen, touch wood, retrogression for quite a while, but that's exactly what it is. So
precisely. And therefore, we could be right and they could be wrong. They could be right, we could be wrong. So it's the best you can, and in a couple of weeks we'll all be settled in and we'll deal with the reality, whatever date that they decided best dates to fit the scenario. But to start with, we also looked at the movement in the October visa bulletin in the last few years. I don't know if you have that readily available.
No, I have that available. Let's go to the...
But also, it's kind of helpful to start looking at what happened. You know, history always teach us to look at history to be able to predict the future.
So let's put that up, and you'll see. There's little Sam and Brian up there.
Can you move Sam and Brian because he's covering?
I can move those handsome gentlemen. Let's see here. Let me see here. Let's move us. Hey, there we are. Sam and Brian have moved.
Yes.
So Sam, this is a chart I actually prepared last week, right? And one of the things that what I was trying to figure out is what happens in a normal year in the October visa bulletin. What do we see, right? And this is basically my, chicken scratch notes as to what happens in the visa bulletin every year. And these were in normal years where there weren't massive overflows.
And this chart can be confusing because there's a lot going on. So we're going to simplify it. We're going to go down maybe on the October visa bulletin movement every year for the last few years. That's the column to the right. And look at it downward. Don't look across because it confused me when I looked that way. So
sorry, everybody.
So, for example, 2015 fiscal year, the movement was?
-8 months. Between fiscal year 2015 and fiscal year 2016, it lost 8 months. It went from January 2006 to May 2005.
So basically, the October visa bulletin, which is the beginning of the fiscal year, was a retrogression.
Yeah.
They just started the year with retrogression, 8 months.
Yeah,
And the following year, which is fiscal year 2016, I'm sorry, 40 months? No, was it 8 months? See, I get confused all the time.
Yeah, so right here, lost 8 months.
Lost 8 months.
Between the next two fiscal years, gained 23 months. Hooray!
So the 2016 October visa bulletin was and that's for EB2 India, right?
Yeah,
these dates.
These are EB2 India dates, yeah.
So for the fiscal year 2016, we started the fiscal year with a forward movement 23 months.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
The following fiscal year, which is 2017, we had a 13 months forward movement.
Yeah, afterwards.
And then the following year, fiscal year 2019, October visa bulletin, we had a 27 months forward movement. And amazingly, in 2020,
we got about nothing.
We had nothing. We had zero movement.
Yeah. So, and I'll mention what this other number is here. That's me tracking, what the movement was across the fiscal year.
So that throughout the year, so the column on the left is the movement throughout the year, and in October 2015.
Yeah. Lost 40. You guys can read down the numbers. It's kind of, went to the wrong spot, clicked the button. It's kind of all over the place, Loss of 40 months in fiscal year 2015, lost 2 months. Great big jump forward in fiscal year 2017, fiscal year 2018.
They took away all the 20 months they gave you in 2017.
Yeah.
They took it away in 2018.
And now we lose some of the nuance here. But one note I chopped off here is here's where we started in fiscal year 2015, 5/1/2009. Here's where we ended at the end of fiscal year 2020. We ended about a couple months ahead.
Nothing.
It is absolutely demoralizing.
So from fiscal year 2015 until fiscal year 2020, 5 years, final action date moved 2 months.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, so first of all, that's upsetting to me for obvious reasons, how low it is. But it also points out that they move these things back. They get it wrong. They move it back and forth to correct for these things. But the number one thing, the thing that was most interesting for me is this column over here. We're kind of primed to be used to big leaps in the October visa bulletin because we've seen them in the past. And these are years where there hasn't been massive overflow. So that's, kind of the brain space that we think about. We think October, as attorneys, we think October visa bulletin, we think potential, right?
Right, for potential forward movement.
Yeah.
And the information we have received from everybody combined, I think some of it calls for optimistic, but more of it is not as optimistic.
Yeah.
So a lot of the information, so there's information flowing from USCIS through certain circles that talks about the movement is not going to be significant, and we're going to go through those. But let's go through the comments one by one and break it down.
Yeah, so I'll just put it up here so everybody can see what we got in terms of comments. I kind of shortened everybody's names in case people don't want to be really identified, but they are the public YouTube comments we got. So from AK, so it's with a looming recession and layoffs towards the end of the year, you'll see a lot less filings in 2023. So as dates advance, there'll be less people filing, very similar to 2010 through 2011. A massive recession is a major eliminator of visa filings, so plus a lot of younger folks from 2017 onwards left for Canada, even after filing since Trump lowered expectations, like almost 100,000. So your projections based upon data from 2013 to 2015 will change. There are several other factors I see eliminating people from the green card queue. So, one of the things we did when we looked at, we looked at basically the visas that were, the I-140s that were upcoming, that were filed in the future, that were basically in the future of the visa bulletin, the things that stop the visa bulletin from moving forward. And we tried to, come up with ways to discount them. People who leave the country, people who get green cards through family-based processes, people who upgrade to EB1, duplicate ones, and we came up with a number where we said, we're going to be conservative, and we're going to say, 8% of those I-140 filings are lost to what we call duplication and attrition, just sheared off for other categories. And I guess AK's comment here kind of made me want to think about it again. Recession is a good point. If the jobs aren't there, if the employers aren't supporting I-485s that are...
And giving up is a big deal.
Yeah.
And also others said, Others got married to U.S. citizens and found other ways to get green cards.
So we're going to try, preview. When it comes to the end of this presentation, we're going to come up with an updated prediction based upon all your guys' suggestions. And, we're going to take that into account. And I'm going to basically up the number of I-140s that basically are moot points at this point because nobody's going after them for various reasons.
So your attrition rate was 8%. What is it now?
It's going to be about 20%.
Okay, so you think that you've more than doubled the attrition rate?
Yeah.
Okay, and I buy 20%. I feel comfortable,
Yeah,
and by the way, we're giving you one comment. Like AK gave us this comment. We're showing it on the screen, but we've received multiple comments.
Yeah.
That also consistently push.
Yeah,
in
I
that
do catch shout out a couple of other people's more names here. So.
Okay.
So that one, great comment. That's we try to be conservative with these things, but yeah. Let's check the next one we got here.
Yep, let's do it.
So I'm gonna put that up on the screen for y'all. Bing. So from Test, and there was a similar one for Naga Kishore, and Sam, this is the one that made me go, great comment. So something to point out: fiscal year 2014 received and approved I-140 apps are approved between 2014 and 2015. There are almost 90% 2014 priority dates that got approved after 6 to 8 months of perm processing time with a little bit of wait. And a better calculation will be to use fiscal year 2016 numbers, as most of those priority dates are from 2015. And
that's a consistent comment we've received for a lot of people.
That
said, you're looking at 2015, you should be looking at 2016.
Yeah.
And it does make a difference because 2016 is a bigger number of applicants.
Yeah, and so to anybody not clear, basically what they're saying is the I-140s that are going to matter that are in the way in the future of the visa bulletin have 2016 approved I-140s because perm at that point took about 6 months to get approved. Not only that, there's a delay, and not every I-140 is filed immediately after the perm comes in. So there's another opportunity to delay. So it's effectively, you look at the 2016 data, and
which will yield a better projection.
Yeah, I believe that's going to be our next slide. So, oops, there we are. So we were previously looking at this 31,000 approved I-140s from 2015, right? And now we're thinking maybe, yeah, you're right. You look at these, oops, I clicked, there we are. I-140s from approved in 2016, 47,000. So that's about 50% more I-140s in the way of movement of the visa bulletin.
And the reason this number is relevant is because that's the number of cases with certain multipliers we're going to add to it. You're going to have to crunch through to go through a year. So if you want to project whether the movement is half a year, then it's half that number. If it's a full year, it's that number. If it's a year and a half, it's that number and then half the following year. So it's important to figure out what number we're looking at.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the 2016 number, which is really a significant change.
Yeah.
From the 31,000 we were looking at.
And we did talk about that, last time we talked here, we noted that, if you look into the data for, 2016, 2017, 2018, I-140 filings were up, but it's just, again, that's a great comment. We're in that now. That's when that slows down the movement. The more visas I-140s filed in a year, the harder it is to move the visa bulletin. So what visa numbers it requires to move the visa bulletin.
What other comments we had, Brian?
So let's see here. Let's bring it back to us so I can move on to that. This is a
your favorite?
I don't know. It's sort of a mind blower, that's for sure. It's thank you guys for letting us know about things that that you have access to. From Pradeep, Sam and Brian, great analysis. I like this comment already. There could be a lot of EB2 inventory that isn't approved by the end of fiscal year 2022. Also, USCIS responded to a lawsuit that there may be possible retrogression or forward movement in EB2 India after a few months into fiscal year 2023.
Yes. So, in terms of trying to quantify that number, first of all, a lot of these lawsuits are information that's not public, that's immigration law, and we respect the federal court system not publishing information when they don't want to publish information.
Yeah, but we've heard what the gist is.
But words gets around, and obviously information also, the other thing I should add, for those who may have access to information published by the government in lawsuits, they are advocacy pieces. They are not incorrect, but they are normally have a skewed analysis to advance their position in the lawsuit. So the fact it's printed and it's given under oath doesn't mean that this number is a number you should hang your hat on. Be that as it may, it's relevant and important. And I think we believe that there is inventory that is not approved once you finish up the year, assuming 100% of the cases are done.
We always knew this because the visa bulletin moved all the way forward to January 1st, 2015 in EB2, and the final action dates are in December of 2014 for EB2, meaning at very least anybody who has an EB2 priority date in December of 2014, it's possible for them to have a pending adjustment of status, and we can say for sure they're not getting green cards this year because the final action date never moved forward, meaning their cases are still in the hands of USCIS. So we talked about that aspect of it last week.
So did we come out with a number, Brian?
So we looked through everything. USCIS has a projection in terms of what they said green cards available to India would be during the fiscal year 2022. And basically they said 51, India EB2, sorry, 51,000, I believe is a number is what we've heard, right? And that's a number which comes with a big asterisk because it doesn't seem to add up to us, right?
Yeah, the numbers didn't add up when we looked at them, but the concept is in fact viable. So we went through this and we've looked at everything that's available, and I think our conclusion is it's reasonable to assume approximately 20,000 EB2 unadjudicated by the end of the year.
Yeah.
But they do overlap, half of them perhaps,
from fiscal year 2016.
with the fiscal year 2016 number that we just pointed to.
Because fiscal year 2016 starts in October, and
and similar number in the EB3 category. So there's going to be some unadjudicated cases that are going to eat up some of the new numbers coming into fiscal year 2023.
Yeah.
So that's an excellent comment from Pradeep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think really what we do is we come around to sort of our updated prediction tabulation at this point. Agreed, Sam?
Yeah. Let's look at the numbers for everybody.
Yeah. So you may recall seeing a similar table last time. Is it revised? So fiscal year 2016, we said we're going to look at the visas from fiscal year 2016.
I-140 approval.
I-140 approvals by USCIS. Yes. Duplication attrition. Based upon suggestions, and we kind of lowered that. We had it at 92%. Now it's 80%.
And that's your projection. It looks like everybody's saying you lose more cases.
Yeah.
So we went down to 38,000.
My friends, I was not thinking about the move to Canada folks, and it jogged my memory. I have talked to at least several people recently. I gave up.
Oh, huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Oh,
it's
huge.
a lot simpler to get a green card through in Canada, and I still have to consider family members, and again, this is a number I'm really happy with, 2.5 on average.
Yep.
And that gives us, 95,575 total green cards in fiscal year 2016.
And then there's the 20,000 number we discussed, and we cut it in half because there's overlap.
Yeah, some of those are going to be bound to be for fiscal year 2015, and some of them are going to be, so we discounted half of them.
So the total is 105,000 green card. So now what is that number? That number, so people understand, is the number of green card that need to be approved to go through a 1 year of a visa bulletin in the EB2 category.
Yeah, for India, yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically the number is. That is not the number of available visas.
Yeah.
That is the number of adjustment filings that needs to be approved in the next fiscal year to be able to move the visa bulletin 1 full year.
So I'm going to do some real simple math. We know that we're anticipating about a 50,000 visa overflow from the family preference categories into the employment-based categories, right? And that covers half of that. And what does that mean, Sam? It's right there on the slide.
And that doesn't count the horizontal movement.
Yeah.
which is going to happen, and there is a significant recognition that most of it is going to go for EB2 India and EB3 India, and China. I think there were some projections on that.
Yeah.
And therefore...
So at the very least, it seems like just the overflow alone can give you six months of movement.
Yes.
And is just a matter of... So one thing we didn't... I guess there's one thing we have to talk about, Sam, is, that's what we think. That's our educated, and we've explained to you guys that we are trying our best to make an educated guess, but it's obviously, as you guys have helped us point out in the comments, it's a really tough task. Because we have the best data that's available to us, and it's not as good as the government, and even the government gets it wrong a fair amount of the time.
Well, evidenced by the fact that they moved only 2 months in 4 or 5 years, even with the overflow.
Yeah, a little bit maddening.
Yeah.
So I guess that brings us to something we didn't really get to last time, but it's something that we got to talk about. What makes this year different than all those other years? Because I mentioned, we showed that chart earlier on, Sam, that shows October Visa Bulletin oftentimes means a great big leap, But things we have to consider are somebody new is at the helm at the Department of State where they determine where the Visa Bulletin is. Previously, those of you who had been around for a while, Charles Oppenheim was the guy, the Visa Bulletin guru at the Department of State. We would like to show, clips from his videos during this thing, because he would do his own YouTube videos explaining, how things are going. And there's a new person there. As I recall, his final note on his work was that, hey, I'm going to guide this into the next fiscal year. He had his finger on the pulse of, September, October of 2021, and then he left. So there's somebody new running the ship right now.
And a lot of this is subjective.
Yeah. It's what do you think is coming? Yeah.
And we have to also share that what's floating around through these lawsuits is that statements made perhaps by USCIS saying that the EB2 India may not progress immediately on October of this year because we maybe are trying to go through the backlog. But USCIS does not produce the Visa Bulletin.
Yeah.
It's the State Department that produces the Visa Bulletin. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that their statement is to be discounted or ignored. I think it's to be taken seriously.
I believe that they are authority on this thing. They give out visas.
To come out next month and have no forward movement in the EB2 is going to get some people angry and mad, including me and thousands of other people.
Well, there's also the matter, Sam, of the dates for filing,
And I'm sorry, Brian, but remember, they wasted 65,000 green cards last year. Yeah. And there's to come out this year and not move it. Anybody can suggest that. These people, it makes them, I think it's crazy. Yeah. It's nuts. It's unacceptable.
Well, again, in terms of policy, we're immigration attorneys. It turns out we really like immigration. Our thought has always been, if you guys have watched us, it's, hey, man, move the Visa Bulletin, move those dates, all those dates for filing, final action dates, move them freely. Let people file. Let them get the benefits of a pending adjustment of status. I don't think anybody's going to mind, too hard if they get to file an adjustment of status way earlier than they thought they ever could,
And the comeback we're hearing from USCIS on that request is that right now the filing fee doesn't cover our cost of adjudicating the adjustment application. That the cost and then the additional cost of continuing to renew these EADs for free year in and year out is something that we're not looking forward to. You know what? You want to charge a couple $1,000s more and throw away the stupid Visa Bulletin in the trash. Yeah. And the moment you file the I-140, file the I-485 and charge for the EADs, everybody welcomes it. Everybody is comfortable. The heck with it.
Yeah, I talked to, you and I both, I talked to a lot of people and, they say, you tell me, Brian, I've been waiting 10 years. If I could throw, 10, 20, 30 grand at this to make it, go away, I'd be happy to.
There is articles in the news.
I don't think it would be right. I think they should just do things quicker and better, but,
There are articles in the news with the headline, expected 1 million immigrants will die before they get their green card today in this country.
Yeah, that's Sam,
You will wait until 1 million people will die, and not get their green card.
Well, I'm going to choose to be optimistic, Sam, because I've been doing my job. I'm closing in on 12 years now, Sam, and especially people in employment-based EB2 India backlog, they do wait a while. But I'm seeing people, who I have, watched, helped on their H-1B filing since, I started and worked on their I-140s, 10 years ago.
Approved.
I'm seeing them get approved, and it makes me happy.
That's right.
There's an end in sight, I guess, is my.
Well, I mean, reform is definitely needed, and I think that might be something that Congress will take next year, hopefully.
We thought they were going to take care of it.
No, we got so close. Yes.
And obviously we talked about the reconciliation bill a little while ago.
Unknown and X factors.
Yeah, so one of them was already there's somebody new at the helm. One of these things we thought that could come up is, USCIS got absolutely swamped in October of 2020 when the visa bulletin let forward. There were people getting, for their October green card filings, receipts in, January, February, the next year. The magic of a little bit of policy sprinkled on the visa bulletin could slow down those dates so USCIS doesn't have another October 2020 nightmare on their hands.
And the Biden administration have put notice to USCIS that they would like to see a change in policy such that a green card must be approved within 6 months. So that they have put USCIS on notice that you need to come back with change in the way you do business, that people who file an I-485 must see an approval within 6 months. So we'll see where that is going to take them.
Yeah, when you think of that, when you say that, Sam, the first thing that comes to mind is, like how thoroughly they review cases. It is important they review these things thoroughly, but there's the old, in immigration law, the standard is a preponderance of the evidence. More likely than not, the benefit should be approved. I can't help but, it always seems to me as an attorney that it's,
That's where the problem is.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot review things to a 95% precision if you're going to move more cases. You're going to have to drop down to a 51% precision, and that's what the law tells you. The law tells USCIS that you are not obligated to be 95% correct. You're obligated to be 51% correct. More likely than not. If this case looks like more likely than not that the green card should be issued, you should issue the green card.
Yeah, and that's not something I look forward to, but they do have the means to undo a green card approval if they go, oh, we made a terrible mistake.
Nobody wants a green card to be issued by mistake, but 99% of these green cards that they waste so much time processing will not have that problem.
Exactly. Most people.
I'm willing to take an increase in taking green card by 4% or 5%.
Yeah, no, you said it. I mean, we looked at the I-45 denial data. It's basically like around 1%.
With all that wasting of time in reviewing cases, only 1 out of 100 are getting denied. Why are you doing this?
Why are you approving 100 cases at the 1% rate?
Yeah. You need to approve cases faster because most of them are approvable.
Yeah, I mean, Right now, we're pretty happy, Sam. We're seeing approvals, and we know USCIS is going to approve a ton, but the last 2 years have been painful.
Yes. Yeah. So what's the subscribers projection?
I think it's at very least there has to 6 months. There's 50,000. We're looking at a 50,000 overflow from the family preference categories into a pool that moves. Needs about 100,000 to move across the fiscal year. Yeah. That equals 6 months. EB3. Now,
with everything that we've read, there's going to be forward movement in EB3 that we understand from the comments we've received. And the details we've received, some of it that we can.
Humble though.
3 months.
I don't know if I'd give it that much. Yeah.
What do you say to the information that we received that there will be no movement initially in the EB2 India?
I mean,
and there will be a China movement, a modest China EB2 movement, but there will not be it will hold steady.
I think that, EB2 India not moving forward is attributable to the idea that there will be significant inventory in USCIS hands. And what we thought was, not as much as they think.
It is impossible that they're going to have enough inventory that requires a whole year.
Yeah.
In as much as not moving the visa bulletin.
Yeah.
There's no way. So I'm not buying that information. I am saying the subscribers' projection should be in the area of about 5 months for EB2 and maybe 2 to 3 months in the EB3.
Yeah.
Modest movement, a lot more modest movement from the information that you guys gave us in October, and hopefully, hopefully
it
we're
made
wrong.
our week very fun as you and I would come by one of those offices just ranting at another one about the data.
The comments and the information you guys gave us. So hopefully that's helpful for you guys. But this is what you've given us. This is the information you provided. So we are going to come back and talk about your question and answer as many of your questions as we can for the next half an hour. All right, so we've had a bunch of comments before we went live, and these don't come on our screen, so we are not going to be able to display them on the screen for you because our software doesn't allow that. But we're going to go through them and just dive right into them. So let's take the first one.
Yeah, I'll hit the first one. So Venkata says, my wife used the I-45 EAD, which is from an EB3 concurrent filing in October 2020. I have both EB2 and EB3 I-140s, 20 days away from current EB2. Can I interfile to EB2 if it gets current? Answer for that one is going to be yes. Interfiling doesn't require anybody to be in status in valid H1B H4. So that's pretty much it. When your final action date's current, you can interfile.
Gaurav Patel, my I-140 was initially filed in EB2, got downgraded to EB3. Prior to date is July 30th, 2015. If July 30th, 2015 gets current in filing final action date, can I use my previous I-140 that was filed in EB2?
Devil is in the details. How was your I-140 downgraded? If it was done as an amendment, that wipes out your prior EB2 approval. If it is done as a basically a second I-140 filing, a new I-140 filing, you have the benefit of 2 I-140s, presumably based upon the same labor certification. That's your best case scenario.
But most people did not do an amendment, and therefore I would say you have a high chance.
Yeah.
All right, so VK, priority date is August 2014, filed EB2 and EB3 adjustments. EB3 I-140 plus 485, November 2020, I-140 approved. Adjustment status transferred to National Benefit Center on July 2022. Medical RFE responded August 18th, 2022. So
just recently.
Yes, succession and interest. EB2 I-140 succession and interest plus I-485 plus ISAC 693. Concurrent filing July 7, 2022. Biometrics applied at Nebraska. He continues on.
This is a triple part question, but I got to the question here. It's actually a pretty straightforward one.
Company attorney can say file premium processing I-140 instead to have to wait for the ETA 9089. Is that correct?
So yes. Well, basically, USCIS has this policy. There's only one labor certification in their eyes, right? One original labor certification. And if you file a case to you moving from one category to another, they say, ooh, we have to go get the old labor certification from the old file and move it to the new one. And because of that, they won't accept premium processing when you do that kind of filing, when you move from one category to another using the same labor certification. It takes some time to go find the original labor certification. What you can do, anytime you can really try to upgrade it to premium processing, you send that premium processing request off to USCIS. If they don't take your premium processing request, they'll say, we don't have your labor certification, or they'll say, we're unable to take premium processing at this time. And they'll say, typically, it's been a while since we got one back, but they'll say, hey, try again in 30 days. So it's the sort of thing where they'll take your case if you do file in premium processing, but there's a very good chance that it will be, and they'll send back the premium processing component and say, try again later.
I'll add a couple of things to that. First of all, USCIS used to go physically to the old file and pick the case. Now they have an access to an electronic portal where they can download it from the Department of Labor directly. And that will save a lot of time.
Yeah.
It is not, it's not a big deal. I think if you go with premium processing and they say no,
we know people who have basically tried several times to upgrade that I-140 to premium processing, and take a couple times before it sticks, but eventually they will get the they will have the file complete and take your premium processing upgrade.
Yes. So Mahendran is saying, thanks for your update on the family-based spillover, but USCIS told they have more than 50,000 485 application that's available for this year. Your thoughts on the impact on forecasted date? So that's one of the things we've incorporated, and basically to explain this to everybody.
Yeah. It was that inventory, that 10,000 cases guesstimate still, or we believe that, about 20,000 that might still be in USCIS inventory for the EB2 category.
Yeah, so that 50,000 is cases that they weren't able to get to this year that they have to deal with next year.
Yeah.
These are estimates, and they are extremely conservative estimate. Our view is that these numbers are not reflective of what will end up being by the end of the year.
Well, that number of 50,000 in inventory, but they also said they had about 20-some thousand, they believe they said at least about 20,000 more visas to cover those. So it wouldn't be 50,000 inventory, it'd be more like 30,000 inventory, which is...
It is 50,000 EB2 and EB3.
Oh, okay, yeah. I see.
But that number has a lot of caveat in it, meaning that it's a guesstimate, and honestly, we don't see 50,000 by the end of the year.
And
remember, these are litigation numbers. They are not incorrect, but they are probably presented in the light most conservative. That's our opinion. So we believe that number will be a lot less. And we have incorporated that number in our prediction by allocating 20,000 unadjudicated in EB2 and 20,000 in EB3, and then discounted them by 50% because it overlapped with the 90,000 number.
Yeah, fiscal year 2016 numbers. So hard to follow. Bottom line is, and Mahendran had a follow-up question, EB2 retrogression. It is statistically possible. It just, anytime we tried to figure a way it could get there, we just couldn't really buy into it.
Well, I think some of the comments that we've heard also that it will never retrogress prior to the July visa bulletin date next year.
So you lose maybe a couple months as well.
So, but I just don't see that. I don't see, even if there's 50,000, there's more than 50,000 cases coming into the EB2 by the virtue of the 40,000 spillover and the horizontal. That's going to be more than 50,000. And that 50,000, by the way, is EB2 and EB3.
Yeah, one of the things we discussed was whether that statement from that court case was accounting for rollover.
I just don't see it. I just don't.
We've looked at it from a lot of angles. It's just I don't see it. We're still kind of aggressive on some sort of movement forward. It seems.
So stay BNYC.
Yeah.
Take it, Brian.
Straight EB3 filer in October 2020. Priority date is August 2013. EAD AP 45J approved. Medical RFE submitted in September 2021. Nothing pending from my side, only waiting for I-45 approval. Pretty common scenario. File was moved to Texas Service Center in December 2021. What should be expected to do now? Cannot enter file to EB2 because I got my master's in 2016 after I-140, I-140 approved in 2013. Don't have any other I-140s 20 years experience. So if you're in the EB3 category and your priority date is August 2013, that's still pretty far off from current. But you have a master's degree. It is possible to go through the EB2 process again if there's go through the PERM/I-140 process again to upgrade yourself to. You are still about a year and a half, about a year and a half off of current. In EB3, and EB3, it does not move quickly. It might be worth your time to considering pursuing a labor certification I-140 in the EB2 category. If you have a master's degree, all it requires is an employer that's willing to sponsor it.
Yep. So I'm going to address the next three questions. One of them is asking if January 2015 will be, in January 2015 will be in October visa bulletin. Highly likely.
Yeah.
The next one is March 2016. Highly likely.
March 2016?
Oh, 2016. No, not likely. I thought it was 2015. Yeah. And the next one is August 2016. Not likely. And then the next question is about somebody who will get his green card and was wondering if they want to update the DS-160 because their parents is about to get interviewed for a B2 visa.
I can't even think on a DS-160.
I would not. I would not. Well, I'm sure.
It locks in. The DS-160 for your parents is going to lock in, and you know.
I think drop a note in the lockbox that please note that I'm the father. I got my green card after the DS-160 is approved.
Yeah.
I would not mess around with the DS-160 and mess around with the appointment.
You can't really mess with it. You can send it. You can send an email to their inquiry
or
line.
just drop it in the lockbox. Just drop a note
With your documents.
With
if you're
your
sending
documents.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I consider that something that is kind of collateral to the B visa application's approval, anyway.
Yes. Any chance of priority date 2013 EB3?
Let me see here. Priority dates. It's at the end. We have. So EB3 final action dates are presently in February 2012.
Yeah.
No. In the next fiscal year, I mean, crazy things have happened. You know, we've just talked about the possibility of legislation to clean up the whole visa nightmare. I mean, that's my only chance for January 2013 EB3 in fiscal year 2023 that's coming.
Yogesh, zero spillover. What's the date for filing for EB2? It will be a disaster because a lot of it's probably going to retrogress or not move.
Well, no, zero
spillover.
Oh, zero spillover. Oh, yeah. Yeah, zero spillover. That's, dates for filing is another great thing. I mean, dates for filing, remember for everybody, is a outlook on the final action dates. I can't. Zero movement stays where it is would be my guess if we're lucky.
Is by Krishna K. AR11 delays adjustment of status processing?
I choose not to answer that question because you have to file your AR11 regardless.
Well, the answer yes, but I don't think it
I would agree. You know, actually, Sam, I'll come up with a scenario by which it will delay.
I'm sure you can, but substantially it will not delay, Brian. How can it delay?
I will tell you. If you move across the country, you move from Dallas, Texas to New York, and you have a green card interview. They were getting ready to green card interview you in Dallas, Texas, and you submit an AR11. They're going to want to interview you in New York, and that's going to take some time.
Right, but that's not an AR11 scenario.
Well,
but that's possible, very possible. But he said to reconfirm the address. If you're reconfirming an address, you don't need an AR11. But I think I need to know more. So Pravan Kumar, hi, primary and dependent 45 status changed to RFE, but only dependent received RFE from medicals, and I opened a request for a copy, but the case inquiry and assigned it to a field office. So you're missing an RFE on yours. You need to be very persistent to get that RFE.
Yeah, one thing I should note, Sam, is we've seen some RFEs on I-45s with very short times. I saw one recently with a 30-day response window.
They're not going to deny. They'll probably issue a second one, but I will be on that phone with USCIS
If you call
daily.
USCIS, you can get them to fax or send another copy of an RFE. It just might take a little persistence to get somebody on the phone there.
I-45 approved 3 weeks back and received approval notice, but still waiting for physical card. Any thoughts on delay? 3 weeks is not too bad at all. Give him a clap for the...
clap for the green card approval. Yes. So this is something, Sam, that I thought about. You know, if they're approving tons of green cards, I was always kind of worrying about they'd slow down in actually issuing the physical cards themselves. But one thing I'd say is, if you haven't, make sure you're checking the status of the case, tracking the status of the case online through the USCIS website, because they do update from, when the case is approved until when the cards are shipped. And they will put a USPS tracking number in there, so keep an eye on that if it's not there. 3 weeks, it's not really blowing my mind, but ultimately, that's the sort of thing, Sam, where I'd say if you could get, beyond a month, I'd start, bothering somebody about it. Actually, in fact, USCIS will probably say that on their website, put in the service inquiry if you don't hear from us in 30 days. And honestly, 30 days after getting a green card approval, I would think, that's when I start, bothering my congressperson,
All right, so let's start here by taking some comment. Is there any chance prior to the date July 2015, current this year, Brian? What do you think? And I'm assuming that is an EB2 question.
Yeah, I mean it's right on.
Right on the line. The answer
right on the
is
line.
To make your day. Yes, the answer is yes.
It wouldn't blow my mind. I'd give you a high five if that happened. I would. Yeah.
How about February 2016?
I don't.
I doubt it.
Everything we're reading, no.
Yeah. Based on pending I-140 EB3 inventory for India, can you predict for EB3?
That inventory for EB3 India seemed awfully high, and USCIS said movement is
predicted. They're inconsistent.
Yeah.
So there's inconsistency
Sam's
there.
You're more bullish on EB3 than
3 months.
I give it less. I give it weeks if we're lucky.
Yeah.
It's frustrating how slowly it moves.
Yes. All right. So let's see here if we got somebody here. Family immigration asking to sponsor a parent. Should the sponsored parent first get a green card and then apply for naturalization, or can be naturalized directly? How long should the parent be in green card? I think answering the last part is more important. So when you get a green card, you cannot apply for citizenship for your parent until 5 years of the green card is approved and physical presence in the U.S. of 2.5 years.
I'll say it differently. So only U.S. citizens can sponsor their parents, right? And basically, when they sponsor their parents, that gets them the parents a green card. And those parents cannot naturalize immediately. They have to wait 5 years after becoming a permanent resident of the United States.
All right. So are there enough visas for almost everyone left until September 30th? No, the answer. That's what we're talking about. There's somewhere debate as to whether there is left, and we think there's about 20,000 green cards that will not be approved. This year in EB2, and another 20,000 perhaps in EB3, we think, right?
Yeah.
My case is still at NBC. Priority date is 4/2013. That is an old priority date.
That's a date I would confidently say for EB2 is going to be safe from retrogression. But I must say, retrogression, it stinks. It means you're not going to get if your priority date's not current, final action current, you're not going to get your green card, and that's terrible for anybody. But retrogression doesn't take anything away from you. If you have a pending I-45 case, you can still extend your EAD, still extend your AP, and get the benefits associated with that case as long as it's pending. So
yes, we believe you're safe from retrogression. Fine.
So from Sunil, my application moved to field office August 19th, priority date January 2012. Just want to check what's the possibility to be approved this year. I'd say a pretty good possibility.
Extremely high, yeah.
They move cases to field offices right now to approve them because they don't have people in service centers who are capable of doing it at speed. And
do I need to update DS-160 for my parents' B2? We've answered that one.
Yeah.
My priority date is July 2016. Do you think it can be current in the next 3 years? Oh my goodness! So I have to predict 3 years out. I would hope so, but who knows?
I mean, the great big. Sam, my general rule of thought is like every 5 years or so, something crazy happens with the visa bulletin. And the last crazy happening with the visa bulletin was about 2 years ago. He's asking you the next 3 years. I'd say it's not so crazy. That wouldn't surprise me, but
it's going to have to probably. I would say the likelihood of, and I'm going to say it. I'm sorry. Reform is reasonably available in the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Even if you get a Republican Congress and a Republican president, if you get enough, I think you can get it going. Or the problem is I don't think there's a big disagreement.
There's bipartisan support on it. It doesn't seem that it's found the right vehicle yet.
Yeah. Two-part question. My spouse is in India. If my I-45 is approved, can I file I-824 for my wife, and how long does it take?
So let's get to part 2 of the question.
Part of the thoughts.
Oh, well, my first question is, JCP ready, is why not get try to get your wife here, presuming you're maintaining your H-1B status, get your wife here on an H-4 and file for adjustment.
Maybe he's
using the green card EAD.
Don't change the facts, Brian.
Okay, all right. Well, yes, but yes.
It takes a while to get an action on a petition.
I think, look on the USCIS website. They will have the most updated numbers as to their processing time.
About 6 months plus or minus to get.
I think it's plus on that one.
But we've seen it approved earlier one time, and we were shocked.
Yeah,
it's crazy. So about 6 months, and then add 6 months for the consular processing. So it's a year out.
So if you can find any way to get yourself back on H-1B status, I'm changing those facts again, Sam. It's faster. You want your wife with you in these United States. Okay. Find a way to get her here and have her wait on a green card from inside the country rather than from outside.
Yes, for January 5th, 2015.
Yeah, that sounds like a good one to me.
Yeah. Can USCIS issue another RFE after medical RFE? Yes, they can.
Yes.
Have you seen any such cases?
Yes, I have.
How much time did it take to adjudicate after medical RFE was received?
I have seen literally, a couple days after medical RFEs after getting them in. So
yeah, but the average is a couple weeks.
Yeah. Anecdotally, I could see it in a couple days.
Absolutely. EB2. Comp A applied for my I-140, Company A, in 2013, got approved. Company A merged with Company B in 2020 as my dates are current. Yeah. Company B filed for I-5 along with I-140 amendment, successor in interest, and continuation. In the meantime, I joined Company C. Why would you do that? Just complicate your life, but that's fine after 180 days, which is okay, based on the AC21 rule. Company C transfer my H-1B, valid until first week of 2020.
22, November 1st. November.
All right, Shiva, that's a long question.
Yeah. In July 2020, my I-140 amendment from Company B got approved.
Denied.
Oh, got approved.
And then, before Company C could file for my I-45, I just my I-45 denied.
No RFE, but direct denial? That's surprising.
So, Shiva, there is absolutely no way these two souls in front of you can analyze your case online. This is a complicated case with a lot of ifs in it. Well, number one, I'm sorry about your trouble, but you really need to get an attorney involved. I'm sure you do have one who's going to sit down with you, and I mean, your chances are as good as the details of the facts. We need to know why it was denied. First, that's step number one, and then once we know why, we know.
Yeah, I'm with an I-40. I'm hearing about an I-45. I don't see any obvious denial without any obvious reason.
It could be that the merger and acquisition wasn't well supported.
Yeah. If USCIS, but it was approved. Well, we could speculate forever on this one.
There was an RFE on it. He moved to Company C. There was an RFE, and we can spend hours speculating. All right, is it Ankit?
Ankit
1G?
Yeah. On cap exempt H-1B for 6+ years, never been subjected to the cap. Interesting. Priority date 2/2017. Can I transfer H-1B to a company cap subject? Do I have to apply in April wait until October? So you need to be subjected to the cap in order to work for an organization that is not cap exempt.
The only exception is for concurrent.
Yeah, that's
filing.
Yeah.
So
it's a great way to, concurrent filing is a great way to build a relationship with a company who might be willing to sponsor you in the next fiscal year.
Visa Bulletin, the Visa Lottery.
Yeah, the Visa Cap Lottery.
All right, so Vinkeshwar.
That's a great exception though, Sam. I wasn't thinking about that. Concurrent employment,
Yeah, that works. Vinkeshwar, but that concurrent employment fails if you lose the first job.
Yeah.
Morality. Technically, the priority date is when the perm gets approved, right?
No. It's it's when the date the perm is filed, and looking back around that time, somebody commented around 6 to 8 months to get a perm approved at that time. Suddenly that shifts the numbers towards the 2016 numbers. Plus, it's not like people get that perm on day one, file the I-140 the next day. It might take them a couple weeks, even months, to get that I-140 together, and suddenly that I-140 approval is a year down the line from when your perm is originally filed.
It's the date of the filing of the perm, so 6 months to file a perm, and then another 6 months to approve an I-140. That's a year.
Oh, you're right. That's when they actually approve it. If you're not filing with the premium processing, you're totally right on that one.
So that's a year on average. Now you could be premium processing, you can truncate it, but we're looking at the 2016 will yield a better.
Yeah, we thought
2016.
Again, it was a good note. 2016 probably yields a better result.
Can you review EB3 I-140 inventory also? That's a great question. We will put that in consideration and look at.
I want to be made more optimistic on EB3 movement because it makes me sad every time I think about it.
Yeah. Well, Brian, what are you doing next weekend? We just canceled your weekend. You got to review the EB3 inventory.
All right.
All right, so we will give it a shot. Patel SD. Shiva, priority date February 2011. Company A. Is this Shiva with the?
Yeah, Shiva with that question.
Shiva, we're gonna have to go to the next one because it's a complicated case. I don't think I can give you the benefit
I think,
of our.
honestly, anybody if you haven't consulted with an attorney who does employment-based immigration, you have to, and your employer's involved.
You need help with a good lawyer that goes through the details of the case.
Think about appeal timeframes. I 30 days to put. You really got to be quick on that. That's for sure.
Would there be a movement in F4 in October visa bulletin? Thanks. I don't think so. The movement is going to be very modest. 60,000 green cards available on the F4, and the backlog is, I think, is 2 million, if I remember correctly. This is the fourth preference.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at the numbers this guy has in his head. So,
I don't think so.
Yeah.
The numbers are ridiculous. I mean, I don't see how F4 will move anywhere. My God, it's like, what, 15% backlog?
Yeah, and there's one thing I got to mention, Sam. It's good for the employment-based folks and the family preference numbers aren't used. But when the family preference aren't used, the F4 category moves less.
Yes, it's a very, very sad category. Can you predict 2017 February EB2 priority date? Whoa.
I cannot.
Yeah, unable to. I apologize for disappointing you. It's way too far in the future. Brian, take that one.
Any guess when we can expect December 2017 to be current so that we can plan for future to some extent? It seems like we are stuck.
What a great reason. Absolutely.
Let's. I'm going to put up a slide, Sam. I'm going to borrow this mouse for a second. I'm going to put up a slide about one of the things that makes the visa bulletin movement so complicated. And we can ignore the arrows. We're going to put up this PowerPoint slide here real quick. Movement on the visa bulletin becomes even harder as we move into 2016 and 2017 because the numbers get so high. We're looking at 47,000 I-140 approvals in 2016, 41,000 in 2017, 39 in 2018. That's where, and if we go to this side, 25,000 in 2014, they're even less in prior years. I just chose to cut them off this version of the chart.
Absolutely.
That's something, low demand in prior years is what facilitates big jumps. The bigger demand.
It really is difficult, and I appreciate the need to plan.
Yeah.
All right, so back on our here.
I think we're done. Yeah, there we are.
Fine.
So is USCIS ignoring EB2 refile applications if I-140 EB3 downgrade is pending? So legally they should not.
I don't think they're ignoring refile application if downgrade is pending, but they're asking about them just to make sure that they're covering all bases, but they should not.
Yeah.
Have they?
There's no.
Have they been? If they've been doing it, is a pure ignorance of the law, and it's improper.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a question that we've been asked a lot, and they shouldn't is my answer. But if I don't have eyes inside the USCIS offices.
How about people whose date is current but didn't apply for 485 since they don't have I-140 approved with current employer? I personally know 2 people like that.
So yeah, that's something that would undo that attrition rate that I took from 92 coming through to 80% going through. I have no doubt you do, Sudhakar, and I can think of a couple people who I'm talking to recently, who are doing consular processing right now because they're in. I can think of 2 people I know who are in Canada and said, "Oh, my date became current. Let's make the plans to get them come to the United States."
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So that's in the 20% that you.
Yeah, and you're right. Some of them might come back later.
Are there any change in spillover expectation in October 23? How many applications may carry forward into October 2023? So the number we had is about 40 to 50,000?
No, it's about 50,000, a little bit more than 50,000. And one of the things I did, late yesterday in preparing for this presentation is I looked to see if there's any updated data from the Department of State in terms of their visa usage. Well, they don't have data out for July yet, so what we put up here, a week ago is our best guess.
Thus far.
Yeah.
All right, so Senthil Kumar, my priority date is April 2014.
Biometrics was given on June 10th. The 800 helpline said my case is ingress visa status and no movement or updates I could see online. It's a possibility of getting my green card by September. So there's a USCIS FAQ for employment-based green cards, and if you look that up on Google, Senthil Kumar, there's an FAQ on that. And that message you're saying sounds like something they explained, where a message they were putting up about when they actually put in interfiling requests, that was generating a message that would seem to indicate that a visa was not available for you, and that's a result of them not having a message that accurately reflects the receipt of interfiling and a movement to another category. So you're
a glitch in their system.
Yes, shortly. So any chance of getting that green card by September? Your priority date, if you are in the EB2 category and it's all done right, yes. It's my bet, yeah.
And we are at 7:01. And we want to thank everybody for listening to us. Come back next Monday, and we will release the topic midweek.
Oh yeah, keep your comments coming in because we really do read them. It gives Sam and I lots to talk about during the week, and they're always appreciated.
Yep. Have a wonderful